I don't know quite how to say this, but...
Sorcerer is actually incredible now!
And that's just the tip of the damage iceberg that this downright nuclear build brings. Seriously, this went on to, at level 60, beat the Torment unique dropping version of Xur with barely any difficulty at all. It killed him in like 30 seconds. It really is kind of ridiculous just how powerful the synergy I'm about to go over is. Hello, my fellow sorcerers, and well, Season 2. And I can't believe I'm about to say this, but it's actually been really fun so far. Outside of a couple of little hiccups, let's call them, on day 1. Honestly, I want to know how it's even possible to have the level of glitch where the season journey doesn't update for the 3 hours of the new season. But aside from all that, it has been... yeah, really kinda satisfying. The progression has been quick. The things we are doing to progress have been actually enjoyable. Blood harvests are a really nice little event and way to farm the so infinitely better than Malignant Heart Vampiric Powers, and mix and matching the 5 to mix into this season's builds has been a joy. I love my theory crafting, and I love min-maxing, well, particularly Sorcerer, to tear through everything as much as it can, as quickly as it can, in the best ways that it can. And I'll be doing that with you guys all season, so let's start doing just that. I want to say then that the Sorcerer with resistance is actually working.
Dear God, it's beautiful.
Feel so meaningfully hard to kill, especially early on without pushing high nightmares. I'm not actually sure what to do with myself. It's weird that I'm not being randomly deleted one-shot by something vaguely looking at me off into the distance. And while it will ever remain hilarious that we've had to wait this long after release of the game to have one of the core character functionalities working, I'm just glad it is now. So now Diablo 4 has moved out of alpha into beta, let's look at the first proper Season 2 Sorcerer build. The goal here then is fourfold. It is the best build to transition to at around level 55-ish when you've got into Nightmare from the Chain Lightning leveling build, or indeed whatever build you were leveling with. And the reason it is the best build to transition to is because it will utterly obliterate the Torment Unlock dungeon, even at low level, as you have been seeing. And it can do that without requiring you to have any specific gear. No need to farm or roll specific affixes, no need to acquire certain uniques, and essentially, you just put the skills in the skill tree, the buttons on your bar, the vampiric powers in, and watch yourself become a god. And subsequently then you can stay in Torment after you have unlocked it at, yes, this low level, and comfortably farm and progress at the fastest speed possible. The first thing I did at level 56 after getting Torment was go do a Torment Helltide and get a mystery chest. It's kinda a cheat code how good the Vampiric Powers have made my version of Season 2 early Arclash. Because yes, there are ways to push this and min-max it even more. If I had every unique and perfectly rolled gear, you could do some absurd things to dominate high nightmare pushing, and I will get to that and bring you it. But for now, this is unbeatable in terms of sheer survivability, damage output, and clear speed without needing anything other than to just play it. There are other builds, of course, but they all need gear Gear. This just doesn't, and I can't wait to properly go over it. Having essentially 0-second cooldown on unstable currents, coupled with the vampireness that we will be selecting, turns you into a unstoppable force of lightning, and it is unbelievably satisfying to feel this powerful, this soon, this easily. So without further ado then, let's do this thing. The skill tree then, as always, is our first port of call, and shockingly, our clash all the way is step 1. We take it to enhanced, and then glinting, as that sweet cooldown reduction really does help, especially with how extra stunned every enemy always is, thanks to the lightning spear infusion, but we'll get to that. Over at your core, we want to get potent warding, all 3 ranks of it, especially right now, as we want this extra tankiness. And I cannot believe I'm existing in a world where I am actually able to recommend potent warding and that it's actually potent. Then we just want to put 1 point into Fireball and make it our first enchantment slot. Moving on then down to our defensives, we grab the Flame Shield, the Enhanced, and then the Heal, and of course our Teleport with another bit of Enhanced and then Shimmering. If you feel you're surviving, like, really well and comfortably, then feel free to get Mystical for extra cooldown reduction on your Crackling Energy, but I found that this balance is good at our current state. Then we want to grab ourselves Frost Nova, take it to enhanced, and then finally get that sweet vulnerable damage. 1 point into elemental attunement just so the effect can happen and reset our defensives. Down to here we want to grab precision for extra lucky hit, primarily to help power static discharge, but also to work with a vampiric power that we'll get to. All 3 ranks of Conjuration Mastery, as we will have a billion lightning spears on the go, thanks to unstable currents having, well, no cooldown, and just its existence in general, and because we will actually be using lightning spear, so we do have it even more reliably than usual. Get your enhanced, and then lastly invoked, and basically this makes lightning spear a stun everyone on screen button, which is just amazing. And the mastery then is Ball Lightning, as this makes up our second enchantment slot. This is wonderful. Obviously, the extra damage of just plonking down a ball lightning on targets that we are critting, and it's another good use of lucky hit with precision magic before we have the gear to really power our lucky hit and no longer need to take this. In any case, this does a lot of damage, and the enchantment slot is half of the reason why. The other half we will get to. Grab Enhanced Ball Lightning, as that does affect the ones summoned by both unstable currents and the enchantment, and then we leave it there as the other 2 don't actually help us. Grab 3 ranks of Static Discharge so we can crit and create Crackling Energy to keep topping up our Crackling Energy and reducing the cooldown of unstable currents even more. I find that this gives us just the right amount of Crackling Energy to keep things ticking over without overflowing ourselves with it and having way more than we would ever need. Following that then, we grab the star of the show in Unstable Currents, and Prime, and then Supreme. The 25% faster pulsing is just so good, as it's essentially just 25% more cooldown reduction from the key passive that we will now grab in Overflowing Energy. This is delicious, and coupled with the Vampiric Powers, makes Unstable Currents have the lowest cooldown it has ever had. And that's without stacking cooldown reduction on gear, which we can still do later in the more super late game min-max version of this that I have no doubt I will be bringing you in the next week or 2. In any case, we now want to pump our crit chance, as this build is all about those sweet, sweet crits, and then we want to get extra movement speed, as that directly translates to damage in this build, and it also is just, you know, speed, as in clear speed, which is always good to have. We want to get electrocution, so everyone is just killing us less hard. This is a nice way to smooth out the damage intake in this setup, and now we're looking nice and rosy. We want to head back up then and grab ourselves the usual defensive in protection, so all of our cooldowns, lightning spear included, gives us a lovely barrier, which is also there to power some of the legendary aspects we will be selecting. The last 2 points then are up to you. You can either finish off elemental attunement to have that happen more often, grab a little bit of glass cannon if you're feeling really extra confident, but I like to just put them in fireball so the enchant just does a little bit more damage, as it really does help our AoE clear with this sort of transitionary start torment build. Though, that said, you could just stay in this for the rest of your entire Diablo 4 Season 2 existence and have a jolly old time. So there you go, that is the skill tree done. Here we are then all set up. As a reminder, our enchantment slots are Fireball, just for more pack burst while we're mowing down legions, and it's really good damage before our gear gets ridiculous, as it will start to do as we push way deeper into Torment and the proper endgame. Then we get the Ball Lightning one, as I said, and just having Ball Lightnings drop on people is insane. The amount of damage that Ball Lightning does, it melts, and is one of the reasons that when we summon a massive amount of them with unstable currents, bosses or, well, anything actually at all near us just completely crumples. But the really fun interaction is with Lightning Spear, because it's a chance on crit, and Lightning Spear, thanks to its enhancement, essentially ends up with like 100% crit chance. Your spear will just be zipping round the entire screen, stunning everyone for 2 seconds, and then also dropping a ball lightning on top of them too, which is such a wonderful little combo. In any case then, playing it could not be more simple, and it really is just run up to everything and clash back and forth, clash back and forth. The only real difference from seasons before when it comes to clash is whenever you feel you're in danger, you want to throw out your lightning spear to stun the entirety of the room and give yourself that little bit of a breezer, and it also obviously increases your output, both from stunning everyone and increasing the damage they take, and the literal damage it does itself on top of the ball lightning drops. Obviously, get your vulnerable on and keep it on, and give yourself a little bit of space with the freeze time, teleport to meow through whatever it is that you are doing, and group people with Raiment of the Infinite, which is obviously Sorc, bread, and butter, though I wouldn't know yet in Season 2, as I can't get hold of one. Anyway, then, yes, whenever there is a massive pack of enemies, elites, or a boss, get your unstable currents on, and just off we go. Just look at this sort of number crunch spam on the Torment World boss here. And also note just how fast it comes off cooldown. Almost completely off in the 10 seconds of it existing. It's and then, yes, Flame Shield whenever you either want to just ignore a mechanic that's exploding on you, or you really are about to die otherwise, because it's your emergency button. So that's all well and good, but what really brings this together is a combination of aspects, a lot of which have been buffed in recent times, or at least over the course of the end of Season 1 towards the start of Season 2, and the Vampiric Powers. Next up then, let's talk gear, legendary aspects, and all of that good stuff. For your gems, you want to be putting in armor skulls in your jewelry, unless you are particularly being troubled by a particular element, but the good part of playing a sorcerer, now with resistances working, is we have so many resistances that will just keep growing thanks to our intelligence ending up at an absolutely colossal amount that we can afford to just get some extra pure armor in our jewelry. Then in your weapons, you want your crit damage to vulnerable enemies, as they'll always be vulnerable from Frost Nova, and then extra health in your armor, as it's not just survivability, it actually does translate to damage too, which we will get to. Then the aspects themselves. On your necklace, you want the rapid aspect for that sweet attack speed on your Arclash. Next up then is gravitational, so ball lightning does the orbiting instead of just firing off into the distance, I cannot still, and I know I keep stressing this, but I cannot exaggerate enough how much damage this adds. Not only is the 22% increase to the ball lightning significant, the fact that it will just remain round us and consistently pulse for its entire duration on top of whatever we're killing, it's so ludicrous. Then we want aspect of control. Everything's going to be stunned all the time and frozen every now and then too, so this adds the usual good chunk of damage. You want to have then increase damage to vulnerable enemies with a barrier. We always have a barrier from all of our cooldowns giving us a barrier, and enemies are always vulnerable from Frost Nova, so this is just a huge bump. And then we also just want more damage while we have a barrier, just really playing in to that barrier synergy from the usual protection grab. Then you want to ideally get Esu's Heirloom. Not only is the extra crit damage and movement speed really nice, and the crit chance is invaluable, it directly now plays into even more power that I will explain once we get into the Vampiric Powers, but it's not the end of the world if you don't have it yet. Though if you don't have it, I would recommend on Nightmare doing Tree of Whispers until you get the 3 parts necessary to summon Varshan, as he has a specifically increased chance to drop Esu's Heirloom, and indeed Raiment of the Infinite, which is why I'm still extra salty that I've not actually dropped it yet, as I've had about 4 Esu's Heirloom from farming him to try and get Raiment of the Infinite. In any case, on your legs, we want Disobedience for that lovely armor and tankiness, and then on my gloves currently, I've just got Lightning Spear does an extra Lightning Spear. This isn't actually, like, the best. What you actually want, I've just not found one yet, is your Unstable Currents has a chance to cast an extra shock skill, Overwhelming Currents. With how much Unstable Currents is open, how fast we are attacking now, this is a colossal increase to our output. The chest should be Raiment of the Infinite, but if it's not, then either Might, so your basic attacks give you more damage reduction, or as I've got, Frost Splits for the extra Frost Nova for just more control and vulnerable uptime. If you are like me, using this build to obliterate Torment at low levels when things still do a little bit of dangerous damage, then I would heartily recommend you taking less damage from vulnerable enemies. We are making everyone vulnerable all the time from our Frost Novas, and indeed everyone is stunned too, so yes, a stunned enemy can't hit you, but if a stunned elite summons like a fire explosion underneath it while stunned, which it can do, then this lessens the damage of it, and that's really good to have happen. So that's your aspects then, and in terms of what affixes you are looking for, if you care to min-max to that level at this stage, well, you want critical strike chance, you want critical strike damage, lightning critical strike damage, lucky hit chance, and as much cooldown reduction as you can get your hands on. Past that then, it's the usuals and the various ways of just increasing your damage, like damage to close enemies. Get a good smattering of attack speed wherever you can too, ranks to any relevant skills that Unstable Current summons, or indeed ranks to Ball Lightning is very, very helpful, and then you are good to go. So, Vampiric Powers then. This is where things, and indeed this season, get very, very exciting, as there is some delicious ones for various Sorcerer builds. But Arclash in particular, as soon as I looked at the list of powers, was the one that I was like, oh my god, Arclash is going to be insane. And indeed, yeah, that has proven to be exactly the case. So, we want then Anticipation. Just an extra 20% cooldown reduction on our ultimate. I am not in perfect min-maxed gear here, not by any stretch, but I still have a base 43 seconds on Unstable Currents. That would have been amazing to have an ultra near perfect endgame gear in both Season 1 and base game. This is such a huge increase in your output with Unstable Currents uptime. Sadly, the ultimate skills deal more damage part doesn't help, as this doesn't apply to what's casted by Unstable Currents, which is a real shame, but it's worth it just for the pure cooldown cooldown reduction. Then we want to have Hemomancy. This is a particular clutch choice right now. At this stage of the game, this build is for powering into and through Torment at as low a level as you can. The actual damage it does is really, really good, and it's why getting extra health from things like the ruby gems is helpful, but the heal from absorbing a percent from everyone on screen cannot be understated at how much it does for you. Now, you've probably maybe heard of Hemomancy doing the rounds, as it is actually quite busted, especially for early game leveling. You just sort of passively kill something every 4 seconds, and weirdly, like, everything triggers it. It says attacks, but just dodging triggers a Hemomancy to happen. However, this is your flexible slot, and if you don't like playing with it, you can choose something you prefer. The other 4 are the important ones for now. In the future, I will just say this to get it out the way, when we get the new unique legs that give you 40% more damage while you're unstoppable, then this will be replaced with Metamorphosis, as that will give you that source of unstoppable consistency that when we combo with those legendary legs, it's going to be just ridiculous. But obviously, we don't have access to every new unique or just every unique at the moment, so this is a really nice little one to put in. If you still don't want it, and obviously don't have the unique in question, then you want to put in a second, essentially, copy of Aspect of Control in Domination. So, after that then, the other 3. These are all, oh my god, so good. Ravenous, a lucky hit chance, which is another reason why we have made sure to grab the 3 points in precision on the skill tree, to increase your attack speed by 30% of your total movement speed. That is 35% attack speed just permanently, because this will happen before the 6 seconds are out, and refresh it with how fast we're attacking and how fast we are triggering this with our just sheer volume of rolls at the lucky hit. And it means that when we actually use Esu's Heirloom, if you have it, it goes to 55% after you dodge. That is 55% more arc lashes per, well, second. That is such a huge spike in your output, and it also means 55% more random shock skills being cast, and you can see why that is absolutely amazing. This thing will be on probably most people's builds on every class, because this amount of attack speed for free is just so incredible, but it really scales particularly well with a build that is all about how fast you can cast Arc Lash. Yeah. Then we get Moonrise. This is a no-brainer and is a little bit busted when it comes to Arc Lash. The fact that we get, yes, even more attack speed, another 20% of it, which it is crazy how fast you cast Arc Lash when everything is up and running. It's so good. But the attack speed aside, we then get to have an extra 15% movement speed, which then makes Ravenous even better, which then gives us even more crit chance from Esu's Heirloom unique effect. So you see how all of these just feed into each other, like a vampire feeds. Yeah. The point is, it's a really powerful trio of synergies, okay? And then if that wasn't enough, just the attack speed and the movement speed would be enough to choose Moonrise, but 120%, at least at level 2, it's still got more to go. Damage on Arc Lash, when Arc Lash already hits so hard in, shockingly the Arc Lash builds. Oh, Moonrise. Yeah, it's so good. Lastly, but certainly not least then, you want Hectic for every 5 basic skills you cast, which is, very, very quickly with all of the aforementioned attack speed on Arc Lash, we reduce one of our cooldowns by 1.5 seconds. This will still go up even further, but this means that we are absolutely melting down all of our cooldowns as we spam Arc Lash. And it's also why a part of the playstyle, you don't want to be pressing any of your cooldowns unless you actually actually have a good reason to. You don't just want to spam them. Keep your barrier up, keep alive, keep teleporting through with speed, but be a little bit more conservative with your selections so that you want as much as possible the only ability on cooldown to be unstable currents, so Hectic here targets unstable currents. So this feeds really nicely off attack speed, and these three give you so much attack speed, on top of the attack speed of Wand and Focus and Rapid aspect. So you see why all of these together really tip Arclash over the edge of absurdity, and it's why this is so powerful even without min-maxing perfect gear and farming, etc. You just do this Arclash build, put these 5 Vampiric Powers on, and you will be ridiculously powerful. And then, yes, upgrade them all as much as you can, roll those dice, and wow, okay, yeah, that was a particularly good dice roll, and try and get them to level 2 at least, but of course beyond is good as well. That then just leaves our Paragon board for the early stages. What you want to be doing then is, well, actually getting your elemental resist nodes now, as they make a big difference, and it really, and just seriously trust me on this, you will feel so unkillable. And I never thought I'd be saying that on a sorcerer, but it really is worth taking, especially at the moment. You also want to be getting your extra maximum life if you are running Hemomancy. If you're not, you don't have to put points in these. In any case, go up and grab the glyph slot and the rare nodes too, and in this one you want to put Aspect of Control. This will give you a nice increase against the constantly stunned and frozen enemies that we are facing. Then we want to move up, and the next board should be the Enchantment Master board. Not for the legendary node, but just so we can grab more plus pure non-physical damage, as this really is a huge increase across the board. The extra intelligence is great too, and even more resist to elements actually being good to grab now. Now, technically, the second glyph should be the mastery glyph that will make Ball Lightning larger. I've not had it drop for me yet, which is unfortunate, so Destruction is a good close second to amp up that crit damage, especially with the bucket changes. Just purely going all in on crit is really nice, with just a little bit of Frost Nova vulnerable to help things out. So then you will go across here and grab both the extra non-physical damage, as that is huge. Then we'll be going over here to get our third board, and it will be the Crackling Energy Ceaseless Conduit board. This will help our cooldown reduction even more, and Crackling Energy is actually a big source of our damage, and this is really worth getting. Your third glyph then will be the Destruction, as this, as I said, should be the Ball Lightning size increaser. And as a note on the Crackling Energy, you may wonder why, with how relatively little of it we have outside of unstable currents, we are still using overflowing energy instead of Via's mastery. While the extra damage and damage reduction is nice, even if we didn't have any crackling energy outside of the 10 seconds our ultimate is on, those 10 seconds of infinite crackling energy is still worth taking overflowing energy, as it provides enough cooldown reduction during those 10 seconds that it's on that it gives us more to work with than just a little bit of extra damage. All we care about is unstable currents uptime in this build, so anything that helps towards that is something that we should achieve. And as Lucky Hit grows and grows with better gear, then Static Discharge will provide enough extra crackling energy to make it definitely always have an effect. In any case then, that really is it, and I hope you have found this both exciting and, more importantly, helpful. I cannot stress enough how good this feels to play, and how immediately, noticeably, absurdly powerful it is. You will be running through everything, even at low 50s in Torment, and still finding yourself actually, weirdly, incredibly hard to kill. It is a good time, in fact it is the best time to be a sorcerer, and I am really enjoying it and cannot wait to bring you many more builds as we go deeper into endgame with more gear options and so on and so forth. For now then, like you've enjoyed this, subscribe and hit the bell for more, consider supporting the future of the channel on Patreon down below, and until we meet again, a goodbye.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.